It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of September 20th, 1996. Now, originally I was going to do 6 movies, but unfortunately I couldn't find anything for Paraiso Perdido or Daytown online. I couldn't really find anything. I couldn't find any clips. I couldn't find anything on Wikipedia, so it doesn't really matter anyway, because I wouldn't have been able to review those movies because I've never seen them before. So we're basically going to look at 4 of the 6 movies that I already talked about before, so forget about Paraiso Perdido and Daytown. Let's talk about these other 4 movies, and we'll start off with one of the biggest new release of the weekend per se. That is Diane Keaton, Goldie Hawn, and Bette Midler in the comedy The First Wives Club. First Wives Club. This is essentially a chick flick for the older audiences, and I have not been kind to these type of movies over the last couple of years. The worst movie I've seen so far in 2023 was 80 for Brady, and I was not very kind to that film. If you want to go check that review out, I'll have a link to it in the corner. But some of these movies can actually be pretty good. This is one of those exceptions. This is a movie that I think beats the ever-loving crap out of most chick flicks. It has a lot of elements to it I generally laughed at with the film. And it's one of those films I remember seeing as a little kid. We went to it as one of those sneak previews that they had. I was about 7 years old. I was 7 years old, and it was the first movie I ever saw in the theater that I genuinely enjoyed. I think it was only this. I think it was maybe the second or. No, that wasn't true because I saw Toy Story. The first Toy Story on a big screen is in the theater. So this is the second best movie I remember seeing in theaters when I was little. I think I only saw 3 movies in between Free Willy 2 and this movie, and the other one was Toy Story. And I think, and obviously Toy Story was the one film that I remember seeing in a theater really enjoying. And this is definitely a close second. I recognize its many flaws. It is a very heavily flawed film in terms of the plot, the comedic set pieces, the jokes and plot come together. When they do come together, it is generally some really good fun. This pairing of Goldie Hawn, Diane Keaton, and Bette Midler are spot on. These 3 really do hold the movie together. You can believe they have a good relationship as friends because the performances are authentic and brilliantly handled. And you've got a really good cast in this movie, too. I mean, you see it in the trailer. You see Bronson Pinchot in there. You see Dan Hedaya, Sarah Jessica Parker, Elizabeth Berkley. I mean, there's a really solid cast in this movie, and they play their parts really well here. And they're roles that are very much given to them. It's interesting because they've kind of remade this movie almost 20 years later with The Other Woman, with Cameron Diaz, Leslie Mann, and Kate Upton. It has kind of like the same kind of setup to it. It was pretty much seen as a ripoff for it, but I thought that movie overall was actually pretty fun too. It's nowhere near as good as this movie, but I think that movie actually is much better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. I know they've actually remade this into a TV series. I remember at one point TV Land was actually going to do it with Allison Hannigan, Megan Hilty, and Vanessa Lachey, but I think they ended up doing a black version of it with for BET, and now I can't remember who was actually in that show. It has Michelle Buteau, Jill Scott, and Ryan Michelle Bathy, and it's apparently still going on. They just had their 3rd season last year, and it's still not canceled yet, but we don't know if it's going to be. Nobody knows if it's really going to come back or not, but I'm surprised it's still on the air, considering I never really heard about it. But, The First Wives Club is aimed at mostly adult audiences, but here's one of the interesting things about this movie is that it got a PG rating, which usually when a PG rating is given to a movie of this caliber, it usually isn't that good. There have been some few exceptions here and there, and this is definitely one of the few exceptions. It's good fun to watch solely on the performances of these leading 3 alone. The cast is really good. The comedy overall is very well done. The script is very well written. It's a really good, fun, romantic comedy that is worth checking out. Even if you're not the biggest fan of these kind of chick flicks, you might actually enjoy it if you go into it with the right mindset. I really enjoyed the movie a whole lot, so that's The First Wives Club. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is Bruce Willis in the Western Last Man Standing. The pieces are definitely there. I mean, Bruce Willis, Christopher Walken, Bruce Dern. You also have Walter Hill writing and directing it. It's actually a Western remake of Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo. The pieces are definitely there, but man, the execution is just. It's just not there, man. I was really disappointed when I saw this movie for the first time, because I remember getting this when I was kind of picking up every movie that I could find on FYE or can't remember if it was FYE or CD Warehouse. It might actually have been a Walmart, honestly, when they had the $5 bin. I saw this in there, and I wanted to see all of Bruce Willis action movies because I really like Bruce Willis as an actor, and I thought this was going to be really cool. I thought this would have been a very interesting idea, but it just didn't really quite work out well. I mean, it's hard to listen to Bruce Willis in this movie because he's talking way too softly than he usually does here, and I think that's actually kind of one of the flaws to the film, is that the atmosphere isn't really all that strong. The writing isn't all that great. The monotone performance of Bruce Willis's character really doesn't fly very well. I mean, Christopher Walken's not even all that great in the movie. And usually if Christopher Walken's not even putting his effort into it, then you know something is off here. And it's Walter Hill. I mean, Walter Hill is a damn good director. He's made a ton of great movies spanning all these different genres. And you think this would be something incredible considering it's a remake of a Kurosawa film. But it's just nothing. There's just nothing there. It's a lifeless film. It doesn't really have anything to make it work, and it's just really like when you watch the film, it's just like, what happened here? Why isn't this working? And it's a shame too, because the pieces are definitely there. There should be something that could be really enjoyable about this, but it just doesn't work very well. I think maybe the big problem with this is that combining the Western genre with a mafia film as well, a mob flick. I think that maybe was a little bit too much here. I think there could have been something maybe interesting if they had done another rewrite here, or allowed these actors to really emote and actually have some character to them. But there's just nothing there. It's a film that really was one of the biggest letdowns of my life. Like, I was really looking forward to seeing it just on the namesake alone, and it really let me down big time. It's a major disappointment. Last Man Standing, man. It's a disappointment. It's a big disappointment in my opinion. So, that's Last Man Standing. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next film, and that is Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub in Big Night. I think yesterday I said that Oliver Platt is in this movie. He is not in this film. That's actually the next movie that Stanley Tucci would direct, The Imposters. That's the one that he's in. But like I said, Tony Shalhoub is in here. A pretty standard premise here. You've got two brothers from I think Italy. They're coming in, two brothers who run an Italian restaurant in New Jersey, in 1950s New Jersey. They decide to, their business isn't going well, so they get a plan to put on an evening of incredible food. And you have a cast that also includes some names like Mark Anthony, Minnie Driver, Ian Holm, Isabella Rossellini, Allison Janney is also in here. This is actually co-directed by Campbell Scott as well. And I remember liking this movie. I think it is a very nice, quiet film. Story-wise, it doesn't do anything too creative or too engaging, but the laughs I think in here really do carry the film, as well as the performances of these characters, specifically Tucci and Shalhoub. I think they work off each other really well here, and movie Food Man just really looks good in the right hands. This is a film that definitely shows off how good this food can really be. Like, even somebody who, like me, who wouldn't want to try half the stuff in here, I'd look at this and just like, man, that looks really good. I actually want to go to this place and actually try it. So yeah, this is a nice little gem here. I don't think a lot of people really talk about it all that much, but it's a pretty good film. If you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend checking it out. Big Night. I think it is a very good film. Definitely give it a shot. So, let's go ahead and take a look at our last movie. That's Anthony Hopkins in Surviving Picasso. Basically kind of what you get there. Anthony Hopkins playing Pablo Picasso. It's done by Merchant Ivory, directed by James Ivory, produced by Ismail Merchant and David L. Wolper of Roots fame. I mean, you pretty much get what you asked for here on that front there. As far as the movie itself goes, I don't really know anything about it because I have never seen the film. I know it's got Natasha McElhone. It's also got Julianne Moore in here, Diana Verona, Josh Ackland, some notable names in here, and it doesn't look like it's a bad-looking film. It looks nice and all, but in terms of the critical reviews for this, I've actually seen it's not gotten too many good reviews for it, so I mean, this was kind of in a lull for Merchant Ivory, because usually when their name comes up, it usually means high-quality stuff like it was in the early 90s, but this is kind of their sluggish point at this point here. I don't think they really had another substantial hit until 2003 with Les Divorce, which is still about 7 years down the road here. But I don't know. I've never seen the film before. I mean, Anthony Hopkins usually can turn in a very good performance, but I don't think it's enough to carry this film overall, judging by what I see here with this trailer. So yeah, that's Surviving Picasso. So on that note, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. I'll try to have these movies next time around if I can get the material for them. We have Extreme Measures, we have 2 Days in the Valley, Secrets and Lies, Curdled, Ed's Next Move, Somebody to Love, and The Lion King, the Al Hirschfeld story. So 7 films overall. The hope is that we'll have those films on the next episode, but you never know. But with that said, though, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.